Let's now rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of approval of the agenda, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Next, we'll have the reading of the conflict of interest statements.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in accordance with the rules of procedures adopted by this board in section 1538-44 of the North Carolina General Statutes, it is the duty of every member present to vote on all matters coming before the board, unless there is a conflict of interest as determined by the board or by law. Does any board member have a conflict of interest with respect to any agenda item coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict, and the board will consider the matter. No conflict.
No conflict, Barnax Taylor.
No conflict. Okay, we will now move into the public hearing for the proposed amendments to Northampton County zoning ordinance. Jason, would you come and present the changes?
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
There wasn't a whole lot of changes to the ordinance. A couple of the big ones were the setbacks. The planning board requested a change of the front setback to 800 feet from the 150 setback district. One of the others was the maximum density of the agricultural land of Northampton County to a maximum 5% allowed. One other change was to the decommissioning fees to add the section to include all of the fees incurred by the. Those are only little changes added to the ordinance. Any questions?
Jason. Just the actual amount of land in Northampton County, it's just still to me a little ambiguity on our actual acreage that we'll look at when I look at the ordinance.
So I haven't found two of the same numbers yet. So depending on where you look, you get so many different numbers. Some of it is because of the date on when it was produced.
Correct.
So we have a total wooded acreage from NC State to the extension office of 242,960 acres.
Yeah, I saw that number, yes. Mhm.
And what I have found on the ag land was right at 170,170 for ag land. So the ag land does have some of the wooded acreage in it. Anything to do with agriculture, really, chicken houses and all that. So we have kind of two different numbers to work on.
Right.
I think the best thing to walk over is the actual agricultural number. that they use.
The 170, 170? Yes, sir. Okay. And also,
Speaking to the mic,
oh, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
this owner is just not looking.
Mr. Tyler?
Let's try it again. There, it's working now.
And also, Jason, in the 5% in the ordinance proposal, right? No greater than 5%.
It's working now. Yes, sir.
Okay,
But is that just agricultural land?
That's what
What
they
I'm looking at
proposed,
is
just
all land is 352,415 acres.
Yes, it's
Correct.
agricultural land.
So how are we gonna
We
determine?
got to make sure we define that definition clearly, but it is based on agricultural land.
That was the proposal, yes.
So how do we change that to include all land? Because with that 172,000 acres of farmland and woodland, we're missing another 170-some thousand acres. what's gonna happen if somebody wants to come in and put a solar farm on the other 172,000 acres?
Can you walk me through where the numbers what you're talking about?
Okay, I've got here, all land is 352,415 acres. And you got farm and woodland at 172,170 acres.
Okay, so we got an update that's come in recently that may not have sent to you from the extension office where the wooded land was 242,906 acres of the total land.
242,906.
Yes, sir.
So what happens, the difference between the 242,906 and the 352,415? Can they cut timber and put solar farms on that timberland?
And that's where the ordinance would have to affect, because the land is ever changing. So what they had on here, the timber land that came from the extension office was land that's cut and replanted, and that's how it stays. So the ag land is your farmland, some wooded land associated with the farmland, your chicken houses and so forth. So it's two different numbers.
So why can't we put a limit on all land?
We can, that's why we're
That's
here.
what I'd like to see all
So
land.
you'd like to see, instead of 5% on the 170,
I'll take 2.5%
what of
on
a
all
couple of
land.
percent on all of it, or something like
2
that?
to
Then there's no
2.5% on all
question.
land.
Right, and I feel the same way. This is Keisha Whitaker. I'm on the same page as Commissioner Edwards. That looking at what we can do so that it pertains to all the acreage of all land.
That would eliminate some of the questions about the land, because the numbers are kind of hard to get accurate readings on it.
They're
so
gonna
that
get
would-
lawyers to,
That was my point.
they're gonna
Jason.
get lawyers in here, big-time lawyers, and they're gonna take our farmland, cut our timber and put solar panels.
Correct.
So let's, I'm all for just doing a percentage on all land. And we
Okay.
gotta protect Northampton.
Understand?
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Commissioner Evans. That's where I was definitely going with because the numbers that I got, every place I looked, Jason,
It's different.
they were different.
It was different. And that's why it's been really, really difficult to come up with a
Right.
good scenario on that. But total acreage is that's been the same on everything.
Right, and when I attended the planning and zoning meeting, and thank you all, and thank the planning and zoning board for getting us those numbers, where there was just that ambiguity about the total acreage, and so to go along with Commissioner Edwards, that's where I was leading up to. We should not just identify wooded and agriculture, just all land in general, because that 5%, according to my calculations, we're already over that anyway.
Correct.
And so to have an ordinance where you're already over would be tough.
And that's where the question would, what did we want to do, what based on the timberland or the ag land or total? So it's
Right.
up there.
But by
the
saying
total
all land, we can hit the mark.
Covered, correct.
Right,
And there's no question on where that number came from.
correct. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
We just gotta pick a percentage that works.
I'd say between 2 and 2.5. I've done the figuring.
Right.
I'm a 2% guy.
The
You
question
wanna
comes
do
into
2.5?
play, though.
If it's below, if 2% is below what we're already at,
We've got to leave a little bit of room for growth. We can't implement an ordinance that's already been surpassed. So we
that's
need
what I
to-
say. Let's do the math and.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that because it becomes a legal challenge. If you've already met the maximum,
I agree.
is that legal to pass it that
Correct.
way?
And we don't want to
So we might
go
have to
that route.
leave a little wiggle room so that they can put a little bit more, it's not maxed out already. It becomes a legal issue that you are now outlawing
I
solar,
agree.
which you can't
I've done
legally
the
do.
math and I know where I want to be, but I'll compromise
Understand.
to a point that we can
Yeah.
stop the solar farms. Sorry.
Are we confident on the 344,803 total acres?
Yes, sir. That's been pretty consistent across all the sites I've looked at. And that does include the water and everything from the lake and ponds and everything else.
344,803.
Right.
Yeah, my paper says 352, 415.
Okay. That's from forestry.
Forestry. Mine is 3.
Documented state organization that's coming through.
352, 450.
Are you saying the 352, Jason?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not the 344, correct?
So
Yes, sir. So it's
2, 4,
352, 415.
Understood.
15.
Sorry, what's the source in that?
That's from the NC State Extension Office.
NC State, yeah. I always go with NC State.
Yeah. Sometimes. Scott, do you need a copy of this?
That would be 8810 if you did 2.5%.
Well, we're at 8627,
Right, so you do have a
so
little
we have a
room,
little bit leeway. Is that 2% or 2.5?
2.5.
Okay,
2% wouldn't be enough.
okay, well, I'll agree. 2.5,
352, 450,
but it limits the amount of acres we gonna put in solar farms.
415 times. Yeah, 2%, you've already exceeded it again.
Okay.
Any more questions for me while I'm here?
Will you discuss the Appendix F Community Benefits Agreement, or will Mr. Derek Bennett do that part?
That's fine.
That way.
I agree with it.
I had a question about that part.
Derek, are you familiar with that one? That one's a. Okay. What's your question? I said I can do to try to answer.
Okay, my question was, the Community Benefits Agreement, and I was talking to our attorney, Attorney Michaela, about it being binding, as far as it being somewhat legally binding with the developer and the host community that it has to deal with. For example, the Voltaire community. My concern would be, in an agreement, the Voltaire community has seemed to be the community that has suffered the most because of the solar farms. And I was asking or wanting to know, in an agreement, in a community agreement, what can we do, or what can we do in an agreement that they can get something out of the deal to compensate for what they've gone through as far as smoke damage in their homes or something? Or is that something that they have had to just deal with? Or is this just something they've had to deal with, or moving forward, or what do we do? But I'm saying, I understand with community agreements that, a company like Sun Energy will come in and give us a lot of money. But I don't want to see that money come in and be given to Garrisburg, given to Jackson, and not given to Gaston, North Carolina, after they have suffered.
Well, we would have to approve any agreement, would we not, Scott? So,
Yes, but I'm saying, Commissioner, Chairman, I'm saying, I would like to make sure that whoever, that Gaston, the Voltaire community, be a part of whatever the agreement is. I don't want it all laid on us to make the decision. I would like to see whoever the host community is involved in the decision-making and involved in the community agreement. You understand where I'm going, Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Because, see, what they'll do is they'll come in here and give us some money, and we'll buy this for the county, and we'll buy that. But see, then Gaston will not be recognized or compensated for what they've been through.
I understand.
Got me?
Yes, ma'am. Very much
Thank
so.
you so much.
Anyone else?
Anybody else have any questions from the board?
No, I think that's a good point that Commissioner Brown Taylor making, is that representative, I would definitely be sure that would happen, Commissioner Brown Taylor.
And that was a new amendment to the ordinance as well with that appendix. That
Yes.
wasn't in the existing solar ordinance.
Correct.
Yes, because we have not gotten one thing from anything so far. And usually they do offer some type of benefit.
All right. Thank you guys for your time.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, do we have, okay, we have 4 people signed up to speak. Sylvia Vincent.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm speaking on behalf of Citizens for Solar Farm Limitations in Northampton County. I come before you this evening with a sense of urgency and disappointment with the Solar Energy Development Ordinance draft that has been presented to you to approve. We have asked you to seek additional help in drafting this document that will address our concerns with the burning. Our concerns within the construction waste management plan draft that we asked for are not addressed. The burning continues with an agreement made by you to burn 1 week in the month. In the meantime, piles and piles and piles of debris are being placed all over the fields waiting to be burned. These fires burn after the 6 p.m. stop time. They are not even required to cover the fires or place debris in a pit so that they can bury smoldering debris after 6 p.m. That debris smolders overnight and sometimes for days because they are not extinguished. We request that the construction waste management plan include provisions for chipping and hauling away non-recyclable debris to avoid negative impacts from smoke on public health and welfare. In this draft, the purpose states, it ensures the protection of health, safety, and welfare, unquote. But it does not exist in the construction waste management plan you have been asked to approve. If they must present a plan to recycle at least 50% of all the waste, why not 100% all of it? Because if they burn the debris, we suffer, and they don't. North Carolina's open burning rules state, and I quote, in addition to the state open burning rules, you may be also subjected to local ordinances, local burn bans, or permitting requirements from the North Carolina Forest Service. Now, compliance with these open burning rules does not guarantee compliance with all local rules and regulations, end of quote. The state is not mandating this on us to suffer at the hands of big businesses when they walk away with pockets full of money. Revise the draft, please, to protect us. They have more than 3,000 acres of solar farms in the western end of the county. Some, the panels are up. A lot of them have to be placed. We are at our fuse is about to blow. So we need assistance so that we can stop them from burning at least. In Appendix E, to propose a fine of just $100 for violating the construction waste management plan is not even a drop in the bucket compared to the danger it may cause to citizens, the animal habitats, the farmlands, and the woodlands. How can they cure a violation if they have caused harm that cannot be fixed? Page 11, special use permit requirements, Romans number 1 and 2, does not resonate because who is to say it won't create a situation where the public could be significantly harmed or put at risk? That cannot be guaranteed even after work has started. Remember, you have a major commercial utility company in the Voltaire community, which does not need leniency from the county government. They are here now, So why not set the requirements higher than residential requirements so that we are guaranteed protection? The county should implement stricter standards in the construction waste management plan, and 80% tax break should raise the bar high for solar energy facilities that choose to come into this county. The moratorium is a year old almost. Here, the Planning Commission and commissioners have waited until the last month or so to bring forth a draft that are rushing to get passed, because June the 30th will be the end of the moratorium. But this should have been started on when the moratorium began. The Board of Commissioners should review every part of this important draft, this very important draft, to make sure it is fit and proper. This is more of a cut and paste draft, and some parts lack emotional connection with our citizens. The present zoning director has been here for a short while. He doesn't know Northampton County or have the same love we have to know what we need to protect our citizens and our land. The draft should not have been placed in his hands without proper guidance from a qualified law firm and/or led exclusively by our county commissioners. It is our recommendation that you do not approve this draft without further study and some assistance from an outside legal firm familiar with ordinances built to protect the citizens around the facilities, the woodlands, the farmlands, and the animal habitats. Northampton County is now overrun with solar farms, but commissioners can ensure citizens' health and well-being by implementing protective measures. Please extend this moratorium and do not approve this draft. To support our concerns, I have in my hands approximately more than 140 signatures from that I have solicited. I have a bunch of them. Please, 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 save our future generations and the land that they call home. So if we have citizens here tonight who are against all these solar farms, would you please stand? Thank you all so much for listening, for choosing to protect the citizens of Northampton County. And I just want to let you all know that I still respect you, but I feel like we have to fight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Debbie Davis.
Good evening. I usually stand up here and talk about the ag part of this. My husband farms, my son farms, and it's our livelihood. It's everything. But it also is the basis for the economics of this county. And we really need to concentrate on what is important to the people and what is important to the farmers and what we can do to save our farmland. Just recently in May, there's a House bill called HB 729. It's endorsed by Farm Bureau, North Carolina Grange, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and Commissioner Steve Troxel. And in this bill, they are talking about getting rid of or lessening the property tax exclusions that solar companies enjoy over like 4 years. Right now, they get 80% exclusion. And they are talking about, as the state, lowering that year after year until they have no exclusions whatsoever. So it's going to cost them more. They're doing this because, like our county, North Carolina is losing precious farmland. And like Northampton County, North Carolina is an agricultural state. So it's not just in this county, it's within the state. And I believe that they are doing something about it at the state level, and I pray that you do something at the county level. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Hollowell.
Good evening, Commissioners. Y'all have already talked about the issue that I was bringing forth, so y'all can hear me if you're talking to the mic. I had questions about the acreage breakdown that was put into the booklet. In my mind, I could not figure out where these numbers came from. A farm, I understand land. Basically, as I read it, you were leaving out 184,774 acres of timberland that could have been converted into solar farms. If y'all go along with what you're talking about and just use the number for the whole county, I think that solves all that issue. It depends on what you look at. It's whether it's 550.5 square miles or 551. The county website says 551 square miles, which would be 352,640. Take a look, half a square mile off would be what I found that somewhere else. But if you use the entire acreage for the entire county and use that as your threshold and use a percentage that does that justice, then I would appreciate y'all looking at it that way instead of trying to break it out like was on this paper, which I still have issues with how these numbers were arrived. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Last speaker signed up is Al Quashibi.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners,
Good evening.
staff, press, and fellow citizens.
Good evening.
The Board of Commissioners is in a quandary. Your moratorium expires, what, Monday? Next Monday?
Yes.
And this has been a labor that I don't believe has received the time that it deserves. We got Economic Development Director who wears many hats. And one of those hats was to work on this ordinance. Then we hired a planning and zoning director and we turned everything over to him. He doesn't have a background in this. And so by next Monday, something, according to your moratorium, needs to be in place. But there are a lot of things that need work concerning the ordinance, just like Ms. Vincent has said. It's hard understanding the numbers. I looked at the paper that the planning and zoning director attached to one ordinance, one version, and it had 172,170 acres. So we start looking at that, look at the 5%, well, we're about 19 acres already over. If you go to the 300-some thousand, 352, you look at 415, you're looking at 8810. Well, what is the right number? And see, if the author of this had time to work on it, we would know the right number. But we got a bunch of different numbers. So I like the idea of selling somewhere around 8,000 acres. That's roughly where we are. But I'm not so much concerned about the solar companies. See, you talk about, well, we got to have a little room. Why? Why can't we reduce that? I mean, the current solar farm companies are grandfathered in, right? Under the non-conforming uses. So they're not hurt. New developers that want to come to the county have an option. They can wait until some solar farms are decommissioned and returned back to the natural state, and then they can file a permit. That's what the farmers would have to do. Why should the farmers be worse off? If the farmers want to use that land that is now solar farm land, they got to wait till it's decommissioned, right? So why are we looking out for the solar companies? And if they don't want to wait, they can go somewhere else. Go to another county. We're already saturated. I don't care where you drive, you're going to see solar farms in Northampton County. Some that are already ongoing, and then we got some others that are being worked on. We're saying in Northampton County, the planning board is saying no more solar farms. This is the limit to which we will accept, around 8,000 some odd acres. After that, you got to go somewhere else. We're not going to accept more. We're not going to be the dumping ground. for solar farms. And you know what they do? They come to poor, tier one, distressed counties, which we're one. That's what they come. We have been through this before where companies want to bring us something nobody else wants. And they think they can give us a few trinkets, give us a few dollars, and we don't run and accept it. We're not. You're a smart board. You're looking out the best interests of Northampton County. And so that's what we ask you to do. Now, you got a quandary. Do you try to extend the moratorium? Is it locked in stone that you got to go ahead and put something in effect? If you do put something in effect, please keep it to that 8,000 acre range. But after that, there's a number of things that need to be looked at. We need a well-researched amendment that involves the service of an environmental attorney. Attorney McKellar is a fine attorney. I've known him many years. But this is not his area. We need environmental attorney assistance where that's the majority of what they do. That's what they do. They know what's going on all over the state. They know what's going on with the statutes. They know what other counties doing, what creative ideas other counties are using. Because the state, as Ms. Davis said, and other counties, they're looking at this solar farm issue and they're saying, look, it's too much. We got to put the brakes on this. And that's why we need someone who's knowledgeable about what's going on. When I looked at the, there was decommissioning. One provision talked about 12 months if nothing's going on. Another part of the ordinance talked about 6 months if nothing's going on. Is it 12 months or is it 6 months? Was it cut to pay? I don't know. The construction waste management fines are too low. We don't have citizens on the Economic Development Community Benefits Committee. Surely, Commissioner Broadneck Taylor, that's what we've been asking for. Let's get some citizens on because they're the community. Set effective permit fees. And as I look through the ordinance, there's a lot of inspection that need to occur. Who's going to pay the additional salary so we can hire more inspectors? Well, certainly consider the solar farm companies. They're the ones that are causing the need for these inspections. So please, take a look at this, and we know you will. Consider the citizens who are living with this, who are subjected to this, the smoke, the oversaturation, and do what's in the best interest of our county, not the developers. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm looking over things. Commissioners, we have any discussion, suggestions?
Close the public
Oh,
hearing.
right, excuse me. We need to close the public hearing and go back into our open session. Commissioners, do you have any suggestions, comments based on your studying it and citizens' comments? I know one that I would make, which Commissioner Keith Evans mentioned, if we go to the total acreage instead of the farmland acreage and take a percentage of that, I think that is a good idea. I've jotted down, based on the comments from Commissioner Broadneck Taylor and Mr. Quashipi, if we could add maybe to this community benefits agreement group, couple of citizens that could be nominated and chosen to serve on that committee. That's one thing I would like to see. The fines being $100 per day, that could be looked at. one of the reasons we were concerned with not choosing an acreage that's already been met, that's not to help the solar companies, that's to protect the county, because if that's challenged and deemed illegal, they could throw out the whole revisions to the ordinance. And it gets to be a legal question, as you can pick an acreage that's already been surpassed, then you're in effect, in de facto, prohibiting solar farms altogether, which you can't legally do. And that's our concern with that, not to protect the solar farms, but to protect the citizens from having an ordinance that could be thrown out of court, and then you don't have any of this in effect. But that's, I've run into that with other things in my career, that could be deemed, not legal to do.
So is it possible we can limit it to the exact acres we have? Will it be 2.4% or 2.5? Can we limit it to the acres we have right now?
Don't know that you, if you do it to the exact, it's also doing the same thing. It has to allow some,
Okay.
if that's not but one acre or something, but
But 2.5% was, I think.
2.5 came out, by my math, 8,810 acres,
And we're 86.27 now.
which would be a difference of 183 acres. I've been doing the math while we're sitting here. I don't think somebody's gonna come in here and try to locate just to get 183 acres. I mean, I could be wrong, but,
I think it comes down to something that one of the citizens, that several of the citizens have said tonight. Have we really given this the fidelity and time that this deserves? Maybe we have, and maybe we haven't. But it's something to think about. This is not anything, this is like a marriage that you just can't walk down the aisle on this one. You got to really, really, really ponder, come back and let's ask some questions, and let's really, really tear it apart and talk about it. Because this is really, really a serious matter.
But our time is limited, I'm new.
yeah.
I'm new at this, but we've got to make a decision.
Exactly.
We're gonna lose our,
Yeah, we
lose it.
can't extend the moratorium. The legal criteria for doing
We
that
don't have any
is
choice.
not met, so we have to make a decision by the 30th on something. Unfortunate, or whatever that may be, that is the situation we are faced with.
And to go along with what you were saying, Mr. Chairman, when you look at the overall document, and thank you for everyone for speaking. One of my focuses, to the point that you were making, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Brown XL, as well as Dr. Whitaker, Commissioner Dr. Whitaker, the fining fees, okay? $100, that's real low when you look at where we are. And when you talk about the funding amount that these companies make, I think that should be increased to 1,000 K per day, looking at where we are. Well, just as a start, but it's 10 times what $1 is. I mean, $100. And when you look at the environmental attorney, because passing something can always be amended, and we have an environmental attorney come in and look at this draft to make it even better approved for the county, so that we're,
That's exactly right. It's one thing, this doesn't mean we can ever make amendments to the zoning again. Yeah, we can do more.
Right, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, to those points. And so when you look at, in addition to what's been said about the document and looking at where we are, I just wanted to add those two pieces in, because again, Judge Kwashiba, you made a good point. We are Tier 1 county when you look at where we are. Ms. Vincent, and to anyone, Ms. Davis that spoke this evening, and more often than not, our Tier 1 counties, Ms. Harwell, always, also, thank you for speaking. When you look at where our Tier 1 counties are, we are agricultural and wooded land, and we are a haven for people to come to. Not necessarily with the component of the best jobs, but offering some jobs. And when you look at that, we do have to do our due diligence in protecting Northampton County's land. And so in addition to what was said, as well as adding citizens to make even better this ordinance that we have before us today, as well as increasing the fines, and definitely we can speak as a board to come up with that number for 100 to 1,000, if not 10,000 per day, so that this is strengthened and to the point of doing more to haul this stuff away would definitely be appreciated, because Ms. Vincent, we do hear you. From my trips to the Voltaire community, it's tough. And we definitely need to do something about the way that the debris is being disposed of. All right.
And I just want to share a couple of words. I want to thank all the citizens that spoke on tonight and echoing the sentiments of Commissioner Edwards, Commissioner Dr. Edwards, Commissioner Taylor, as well as Chair Martin. We want to make sure that our county is safe and clean for our citizens. Definitely understanding that we all represent different districts and townships, but we serve all. As some of the comments that were shared on tonight, making sure that we are accurate with the numbers and the information that we give the citizens, because when we're accurate with our information, it helps create and builds more trust with the citizens that we're sharing information with. And so definitely by having citizens that are impacted in these communities at the table, especially on that benefits committee, I think that's going to be key. And then us also doing, as we discussed as a board a few moments ago, looking at an environmental attorney, being able to make amendments and addendums as necessary so that we can get this as good as we can possibly get it, and also limiting these solar farms from coming into our communities. We already know that Tier 1 counties are already impacted in various other ways, and as much as we can as commissioners advocate for our citizens and our communities, we definitely want to make sure that we do that. And I think someone shared earlier, you can't hardly go anywhere throughout the county without seeing a solar farm. And so all of our communities are impacted in some type of way, but I just want to take the time to thank the citizens for sharing your concerns, and just please know that we hear you. We're going to be advocating for you, and those opportunities that we have for you to be at the table so that you can have your voice and have an impact. That's certainly what we want to do. But I'm definitely on the same page, and thank our commissioners for taking this matter very serious and doing all we can to protect our citizens, our communities, our farmland, because again, we want a safe Northampton County and a clean Northampton County for many, many years to come in generations. So thank you.
Okay. Question for the attorney. If we do amendments, do we vote on each amendment one at a time as we come to them, or?
I mean, my recommendation, if you could put it all within one vote.
Okay. All right.
That would be sufficient. And just to remind the board that if there is going to be a vote, any motion must conclude a statement saying whether or not the proposed ordinance meets the county, is consistent with the county's comprehensive land use plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add just one more thing to our robust conversation here, is that when you look at the components that we're looking at, and to the point that we are doing our due diligence, is that we put timelines on, let's say, if through our conversation, we're going to get an environmental attorney, passing it, that we do that within 2 months or 1 month, so that we don't have something spread out over 6 months or so, because that time frame is too long, to the citizens' point this evening, and we need to keep our pulse on this matter. Actually, it should be no more than 1 month, so that we are doing our due diligence and making things happen, so that we are getting expert advice in addition to the advice that we already have, to make these necessary changes to strengthen this ordinance.
So do you say 1 month or 2 months?
I believe one, Commissioner Edwards, I mean, 1 month is long enough. If we make it 2, some will be forgotten.
Okay. All right, I'm looking at the notes I made as we went along. First thing I think that should be amended is page 11. The solar density be one recommendation is 2.5% of the 352,415 acres. If that's what we choose to go with, or whatever, that could go there. Page 17, amend the daily fine. And then 18, add the addition of community representatives to the benefits group at whatever amount we would decide upon. But those are the 3 things that I saw were the biggest issues that would need to be taken care of.
Also, the component, Mr. Chairman, about how we're going to dispose.
I was thinking of that while that was being spoken about. Certain things can't be recycled. A lot of these places that take chips and things, they have quotas, and or they don't take stuff that comes from, as you know, that time we met with MV, but they don't take things from like construction sites and things like that. They only take it from renewable sources.
Yes, sir.
So some of these places aren't eligible to take chips from something like this. That's why it probably doesn't have 100% recycling as a requirement. So I don't know there's a whole lot you can do with that. If it's marketable, they're gonna take it. They have marketable timber, they're gonna take it and sell it. But you know, that's something we might could look into more, thinking a second phase, a second round of this or something.
Understood, because the recommendation tonight is 50%, is that correct?
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And also looking at the special use permits, Mr. Chairman, on page 11. And that's sub item 1, when you talk about the burning, that we definitely are concerned with, and hear there are a lot of complaints about, and that 50% does not materially endanger the public health or safety.
One thing they should be required to do, and I don't know if they're doing it right now, you should tend those burn piles around the clock.
That is true.
If you're letting them smolder, they smoke more. They're constantly tended. Anybody that ever burned a fire, you know, you keep it tended and pushed up where it's burning hot, doesn't smoke as much. If you leave it setting, it's gonna smoke. And they are allowed, I know people have this misconception, you can burn 24 hours a day. You just can't add fuel to it after the certain time of day. That's the way that law works. So if they light a fire within those time frames, they can burn until it burns out. But if they don't tend it, it will smoke more. It
And they're
probably should be
building-
required to tend it.
And they're, what is it, they're burning all night, aren't they?
Mhm.
Aren't they burning all night?
I've been told they have things burning after the 6 o'clock, which is allowed if it was started before, but it should be tended, yeah.
In addition to state burning bans, it says, and I got this from the state burning ban, it says, in addition to the state open burning rule, you may be also subject to local ordinances, local burn bans, or permitting requirements from the NCRC. I mean, that means something that you can put in the ordinance, that
True.
if they could just put dirt over, make sure it's nothing burning at night.
One thing you gotta be careful of, you can't make an ordinance that only applies to them. So if you make a burning ordinance change, it has to apply to everybody, because law doesn't allow you to pick a certain industry and say,
And that's not hard to apply to everybody. You know, if I'm gonna burn, if the law says, or the fire marshal or whatever says, I have to cover that after 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, then I'll smoke. But these people are burning you out. I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's something we might can look into though, in the second round as we get an environmental attorney to help with what can and cannot be done and would work in the best interest of everybody.
And also, when you look at, I heard mentioned that in some counties also, they use pits in their burning of debris. And I have not seen any pits anywhere. And that can definitely help in the regulation of this burning that's occurring when you look at what's happening in our Deer County now.
Any suggestions on the fine per day, 1,000? I mean, that has a lot of bite in my
I
opinion.
say we go 10K, that's done.
I agree.
Okay,
That'll get somebody's attention.
That'll get your attention.
okay. So 2.5% of 352,415 acres, 10,000 a day. Representation on the community benefits group. How many do you think would be a good? You got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I think we got solar panels throughout Northampton, so we need maybe one per district. Five districts.
Yes, it's fine.
Definitely, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to voice their opinion, so I think every district ought to be represented.
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah,
That's a good
because even
idea.
though right now, most of them have been up in the Volta area, they have been all over everywhere. I drive past them every day going to work.
Yes, I'm in the Pleasant Hill community and they're everywhere.
Yeah,
They're everywhere.
I
When I come-
past Gunbury area going to Pleasant Hill.
Absolutely.
I pass them every day.
And when you go up Bethel Church Road,
Oh, yeah.
it's saturated.
Yeah,
When you take that off of Big John Store Road, like you're going to Seaboard, there are no farms back there anymore. It's all solar panels.
yeah.
But as an example to Commissioner Edwards, your point, they're everywhere throughout the county.
So one per district. Yes. One rep per district. Anything else y'all think we should amend at this point? Or you think those three things are good enough to start with, and then we can?
Definitely think we hit a lot on what some of the citizens spoke on tonight, so I definitely think I definitely think with some of the changes we're making amendments, are definitely touching on some of those important points that the citizens talked about on tonight.
Okay, what were you saying, Vice Chairman?
But the 50% piece, with them chipping in and hauling away, and I understand your point. But we get some more clarity on, how do we make that stronger? Is it raising the percentage, or what is it that we can do with that point, Mr. Chairman?
That's one I'm not so sure we shouldn't wait and get some input from an environmental attorney.
I'm clear.
On how best to do that would stand up to legal challenges and so forth.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Or would someone like to make these three changes into a motion? 2.5% on page 11, 2.5% of 352,000 acres instead of 5% of the agriculture. On page 17, 10,000 a day. And then on page 18, one representative from each district, one citizen representative from each district.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, is that statement got to be read?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion includes a statement that the ordinance is consistent with the county's comprehensive land use plan. Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
And Mr. Chairman, I just would like, if we can, just add that we will do a comprehensive plan to make sure of meeting timely deadlines, and that we say something in this motion that we will follow up in 2 months. No, excuse me, 1 month. 1 month.
Okay. All right. Now, does this motion, are we just approving the amendment, and then we still have to approve the whole? Or we approve
My
it
recommendation would be if you're approving, you're adopting this ordinance
With these
with the
amendments.
stated amendments.
Okay, so is that your motion, Commissioner Keith Edwards?
Yes.
Okay, that we adopt the ordinance with these three amendments as stated, okay? Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, Broadnax Taylor.
Aye. Okay, the motion is carried. And, all right, is there any other issues? We will,
I just, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
just for my clarity, our contingency plan for definite follow-through.
yes,
Definite follow-through from this date, that we, by our July meeting, which I know doesn't give us, well, they give us about, what, two and a half weeks? No, like 3 weeks, right? That we follow up with this component of seeking an environmental attorney, and as well as constantly revisiting and having on our agenda the component of this Northampton County ordinance until we reach a consensus on where we need to be. Monthly.
all right.
Commissioner Edwards, who will be given that task of finding an attorney for us?
I'm happy to take on and recommend someone. I believe Judge Kwashipi had some recommendations. I'll follow up with him, and I'll present a
I think
recommendation
that's-
to the board.
I think that's the best course. Okay,
And Mr. Chairman, I do want to say just one more thing, and, looking at where we are in our county, we have citizens that daily, and we are here from, and our commissioners here from, when you talk about the things that's coming in Northampton County, and the conversations that I hear, when you talk, and Mr. Harding keeps us abreast on things that are going on within Viva. things that are going on with the hog farms, as well as Ms. Joanna. Ms. Vincent has been very vocal, and we definitely appreciate that about the solar farms. And, you know, we as commissioners, we're going to have to look at where we are and look at all the ordinances and see exactly what it is that we can do about these things that are happening and affecting our county and affecting our citizens' health. And so just a standing component of what are the things that we can do with the industry that we have in this county to put some limitations and some barriers so that we're not impeding on citizens' health.
Yeah, we've come a long way. I can remember when we had no zoning at all. But we got a ways to go.
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, now it's time for county manager and board comments. Do you have any comments, county manager?
I don't have anything to add, except that it was a good meeting tonight, and just appreciate seeing the citizens coming out. They have concerns are voiced, commissioners are listening, and we are addressing the issues. So it was a very good meeting tonight. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Y'all be safe.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Whitaker, would you like to make any comments?
Yes, sir. I'll be brief because I have to hop off due to a presentation, but I just want to thank all the citizens for coming out on tonight and for sharing your concerns. We definitely hear you and we appreciate you. And again, I do apologize for my physical absence, but I have a work board meeting at the same time that I've got to do a presentation for in a few moments. So again, just want to thank everyone for coming out on tonight. Hope everyone have a wonderful and safe evening, and thank the Board of Commissioners as well. Good night.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. It's always important if you just let us know. We don't know the whole story, but you guys do. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for speaking up. And my phone's always available. So if you can't find a number, you know, just call me, because I like to solve problems. I've always been that way. Can't solve them all, but I'll guarantee you I'm going to come to the head guy to let him solve what our problems are. And this is a good group. I think this group that we have now is really focusing on Northampton being the best. You know, I grew up here, still live here, have my son here, so I want it to be the best we can make it. So that's why I'm here. I can blame a lot of people for putting me here, but I guarantee you I'm gonna do the best I can. Thanks for coming out. Be safe. Thank you all.
Commissioner Brown, next day.
Thank everybody for coming out tonight. Also like to thank everybody that came out to the Cultural and Wellness Center for Representative Rodney Pierce's event, bringing the capital to the constituents, which was wonderful last week. I'd also like to thank the Gaston senior group for a wonderful time today in Gaston. That was some good food and just good fellowship today in Gaston. What else was another thing? Like to thank everybody who came out to the football camp sponsored by Mr. Cedric Jones, the You Can Too Foundation. And we got a lot of good things going on in Northampton County. And as I say, and I brag across the state, and I'm across the state, we have the best citizens across the state of North Carolina. And thank you for all that you do.
Vice Chairman Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Echoed what Commissioner Ronald Taylor said. That was a good event, bringing the capital to Northampton County. And also I want to thank the Gaston Community, Lake Gaston Community Center, Juneteenth celebration. Wonderful celebration that we attended and had some good food, good speakers, and just a great event. So thank you to the Lake Gaston Community Center as well for celebrating Juneteenth. And also, we just received an invitation happening on July the 15th from Ms. Kira Vincent. She's a Northampton County early graduate and a first-year student at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And she's hosting a Youth Speak Up and Speak Out event on 653 James Jones Road. And we look forward to that event, and I look forward to attending.
One comment about that, I noticed I don't see a time on here.
I was gonna ask her, did she leave?
Does anyone know what time that's?
What time? 6 PM?
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, citizens.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and just want you to know, this has been a issue that I've had concern with for years myself, and hopefully we are putting in place some rules to control it that will stand up to legal challenges, because the worst thing that could happen, it get thrown out because something is not legally right, and then you have nothing again. Thank all of y'all for coming out tonight, and we'll continue to try to do our best for the citizens of this county. I was born and raised here and love this county and want to see it succeed and be prosperous. And thank you all. Okay, now do we have a motion to go into closed session?
I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. General Statute 143-318, 11A6.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I, Brian X. Taylor.
Aye. Motion is carried. We'll now go into closed session.
I know that's right.